Hi, and welcome to the latest edition of the Business Spotlight interview series. Today, it is my pleasure to be joined by Leo Callow. Leo is both founder and chairman of Callow Events here in Northern Ireland. And Leo, delighted that you could join us today. Literally just off the plane from Australia, so we'll give you a bye ball for any jet lag. Why don't you share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and for how long?
Well, I founded this company when I left the military back in sort of late 90s. No, it wasn't late 90s, sorry, it was more like 2008. And we didn't really get going till 2010. Strangely enough, I had never been to university while all my time in the military. I'd been to Staff College, I'd been to Sandhurst, but I'd never been as a student to university. So I took myself off to Queen's and did an MBA. And
Yeah.
there was where I met a lot of like-minded people who were either already in business or had founded a business and wanting to improve their knowledge, or folks like me that wanted to learn more about how to do business.
Yeah.
But the best thing about a course like that is it helps you over, 2 years, really get to know people like you, and that becomes a network that gets you going. So that's how I then managed to change my way of looking at how to set up a business and how to put together the sort of initial stages of what I wanted to do. And I chose event management because really in the military, you do a lot of organizing, a lot
Yeah.
of very detailed planning. And you're always looking for what might go wrong and trying to make sure it doesn't happen. So I felt that was a good fit. And yeah, we just cracked on from there. And initially it was just me working by myself.
Yeah.
And then we took on a few. Well, first person was someone who came and sort of worked more as an admin assistant, but then became the person who was helping me deliver the events. And
Yes.
then we each were learning alongside each other. And then over time, that has grown into quite a sizable business now based here in Royal Avenue in Belfast.
Fantastic. And when you say sizable, what sort of number of employees have you?
We've now got 16 people altogether working for us,
Very good.
12 of which are full time.
Yeah.
And we really are pushing the boundaries now. These last couple of years since the pandemic have been very good to us. You can't imagine how hard it was for us to survive the pandemic.
I'm sure.
Initially, we were like head in the hands, going, "What are we going to do?" Because
Of
everything
course.
was getting cancelled, and
Yeah.
people were looking their deposits refunded, and nobody was doing anything at all that involved contact with other humans.
Yeah.
So we reinvented ourselves and went online. And
Fantastic.
thanks to a very talented recruit that came to us through university, well, she worked for us in our holidays, a girl called Erin Miley. And Erin eventually then decided, right, well, when she's finished university, she came to work for us full time. And she then took this concept along lines that I would never have seen coming, where she developed all sorts of online events to deliver value to corporates trying to do conferences, people trying to do staff events in the evening. She pulled all
Yeah.
sorts of quizzes and online entertainment, and then networked a whole pile of out of work TV presenters and actors and others, and in turn lured them into jumping online through a little mini studio that she put together. And that was the saving of us because that kept us afloat.
That's fabulous.
That and furlough. Without either, we would not be here today.
Sure.
So, and that meant that once we kicked off again and got going, a lot of those people who previously either cancelled or postponed events came back on board, and a lot of those were particularly that first year, the latter end of 21 and into 22, really got going, got us off the blocks. And then from there, a lot of the people that we'd met online during COVID, Rich,
Yeah.
they decided to progress towards live events with us.
Sure.
And it's been an amazing growth journey since then. We've doubled in size every year since the pandemic.
That's a fabulous success story, Leo. Uh, Sort of following what you said there, initially, obviously pre-COVID, doing live events, during COVID, had to go online, reinvented yourselves with Aaron's expertise, now doing more live events. Who is your ideal customer and all of that?
Well, it's larger corporate companies who really want to cherish their clients and their staff. You know, large legal companies, particularly international legal companies, international finance or international IT companies, they spend an awful lot of money recruiting the right person. So
Yeah,
one of the key retention tools in looking after those people is to do really good events for them. You know, maybe twice a year, summer and Christmas, but not just a staff party as you know it, a complete event where we would theme it. We did one for a legal firm in the summer where it was a whole Bridgerton theme, you
yes,
know, complete with horses and carriages, you know, uniformed actors, all the dancing lessons, the whole etiquette of it. And of course, people find that very immersive. And also, if they're doing it with their colleagues, it's fabulous.
yeah,
You know, for other large consultancies, we do themed events where we have their own pop-up, literally Glastonbury Festival with a main stage and sound stages in a woods with a fireworks display, a silent disco, all sorts of things where they come away from there feeling, wow, they've had the evening of their lives and they remember it, but they
sure, of
also remember that it was their company that put that together for them. And
course.
then client style events where, you know, really luxury brands want to do something special for their clients that have particularly been loyal to them. That's a bit more challenging, and that's not just buying a box at Ascot or delivering trackside at an F1 Grand Prix. You can go online and do that. So what they want us to do is develop that kind of immersive experience that amplifies their brand and maybe allows people to experience their latest products. But it has to be done in such a convivial and imaginative way that folks who will go to a lot of these things go, my goodness, that was different. So each day is a challenge, as you might imagine, when
Sure.
these clients luckily return back to us, and Erin and her amazing team have to dream up new ways for those folks to be entertained.
Fantastic. So you used to be asked people, is this something that they wanted to do? It was like in their mind as they were growing up. But obviously you went into the military first. Did you ever think about owning your own business? Or was that something you dreamed of long
Oh,
term?
always, I think when you get to a certain point in the military where maybe you've had the privilege of command, as I had, and you then go, well, what am I going to do next? And there's an inkling inside of you either just to stay with it and see what happens, or to take that big step and say, you know, I've had a fantastic 28-year career,
Yeah,
but possibly it's time to find out if I really could run my own firm. And you know, in the army, there's a course for everything. So you know, every time you go to do something new, you go away and do a course, and it could be a week, it could be months, but you're retrained to do whatever it might be next.
yeah.
And my way of filling that gap for me was to go to Queen's and do an MBA, and that was definitely where the lights came on.
Fantastic. Super. So what's been the biggest issue, aside from COVID and trying to survive that? What has been the biggest issue that you in running your own business have had to overcome?
It's mainly been the whole the whole business of events is all quite competitive, in that there are quite a few people out there who think that they can do events because it's an easy business to get into. You don't need a whole pile of qualifications. You don't need a lot of professional guidance and experience. You just need to be very organized and also perhaps well connected. So that level of competition is always the hardest to overcome, particularly initially to break into the market where your small business is up against some big operations running right across the island of Ireland that are trying very hard to get the biggest market share they can. So it's really learning how to coax clients into your your area of interest. And, I cannot tell you that the most difficult problem for me to overcome was I had no knowledge of the web or social media or whatever, because it's not a space where the military would operate.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you look at Generation Z or X today, they've grown up with that device in their hand. So
Yeah.
instinctively, as soon as you mention something new to them, they're checking it out.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I perhaps didn't learn early enough was how important that was, and the need to have some really good help to always advise you about how best to feedback and put things out. Like the big mistake a lot of people make, or I have made, is you're dying to post something once you know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You must remember that the event is something you're delivering. It's not you, it's the client. So it's up to them to post first. It's up to them to get the news out and be proud of it. And you have to be patient sometimes. And that's a hard lesson to learn when you make that mistake, and certainly get how would you say, a little bit downgraded as a result of not getting it right.
Sure. And I guess, like myself, you didn't grow up in an era when you had all of this technology. The telephone was probably linked to the wall in one spot in the house.
Yeah, and also, if you think of it another way today, when the telephone rings in the office, how many people know how to answer it?
Yeah.
Or do they pick it up and go, "Yeah, what do you want?" Or do they pick it up and say, "Hello, good afternoon, Callow Events. How can I help you?"
Yes.
So, one of the big things that we find with new staff joining us is teaching them how to answer the phone, and teaching them how that whole business of the way you do things when you meet somebody, when you go into a room, when you check out how they want their event to work, and
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
able to listen to them and listen to what it is they really want. And then, luckily, thanks to technology nowadays, we're able to display how we operate a lot easier. We're able to show off how good it can be, but we have to listen to when someone says, "I don't really like rock and roll. I actually prefer the blues," or "I really enjoy some soul." You have to take that on board, even though it's not something you might like.
Sure. Sure. Great. So what have you learned about yourself through this whole journey, I guess, post-military and running your own business?
To open your mind, you'd be really surprised how much you can learn about something completely different that you've never seen or maybe discounted before. Like if you're not a vegetarian, you don't know much about what vegetarianism is. So
Yes.
occasionally it's quite funny and interesting where somebody is very vegan, or a company might like to have a vegetarian or a vegan approach to their food at their event. How surprising that can be.
Yeah. Great daily experience for growth.
Yeah, and coupled with that also is a sense of, you don't know what surprise is going to come around the corner. You don't know who's going to ring you up and say, we're coming to Belfast to do this film, or we're coming to Northern Ireland. We really want the chance to do an event that is in both Belfast and Dublin. Can you look at how? And we did an event for a very big international organization where they are based out of Stuttgart, and they came here and they did their annual conference, but they did some of it in Belfast and some of it in Dublin.
Fantastic.
And they all got out of the bus on the border, and they were going, "This is amazing, where if we just put one foot over this line, we're in the EU, and then if we step back, we're in the UK, And that sort of, and also for me particularly, having grown up as an Irishman during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, in a very different way, to see Northern Ireland now really find its feet and exploit the uniqueness of Northern Ireland as a province of Ireland, a region of the United Kingdom, the only bit of Great Britain that has a land border with the EU, and is the closest piece of Great Britain to North America. It's just fabulous.
Yeah.
And that growth, you can feel it, you can see it in our cities and towns, and the interest. But also when you switch your TV on the plane, there's some show on there that's being made in Northern Ireland, and you think,
exactly.
"Oh, brilliant, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, fantastic. It's a long way away from the days when you and I grew up, and how the province looked back then. So tell me this, who inspires you today? If you look across your life or current times, who would you look to for inspiration? Doesn't have to be a business person, just in general. Who inspires you?
I think in general, you know, people, for example, like Richard Branson does inspire me. You know, the way he takes the time to go and try and show himself to every part of his empire, but at the same time use that touring, that involvement, that visiting to bring attention to whatever that might be. And that's again the beauty of social media. One of the things I was always thought in the military was you go and you eat last, you visit first,
Yes.
and you always talk to everybody.
Yeah.
So, you know, even the guy who washes the plates, you go and say hello to him and ask him his name, and you find out a little bit more about what goes on in his world, or her time that she spent in the military. Particularly female soldiers nowadays are very proud of what they're up to, like female sports people. But
Yes.
eventually you and I probably notice the difference. But I think the young people coming behind us, that's all just one. They're just sports people. They're just soldiers. They're
Yeah.
just pilots. But
Yes.
having that sense of the way you've been brought up to go and just take a look and see what the temperature is and spend time listening to what everybody, not just the people that are at your level in the boardroom.
Oh, of course.
That
Yes.
makes a huge difference to how your business feels to other people as well.
Sure. And do you read much, or are you more into podcasts, or what do you go to for like motivation and inspiration on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
I think, funny enough, the Queen's University part of my life gave me a taste for the Harvard Business Review,
Yeah.
and I'm quite surprised that I still picked that up. And I still would, you know, if I was looking to spend some time like I was recently flying, then, you know, I'd grab a copy of the Economist and look through it and read it, because I remember having to do that
Yeah.
as part of my course. So I think that those things that you studied can lead to an interest. But for me, what really I read a lot is history, military history books that are set in periods of time, films like Napoleon, you know, and you
Yeah.
learn so much from the strategy of those people overcoming deep adversity. You know,
Sure.
the will to push forward and do stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you, and then podcasts, I think there's, you know, BBC Sounds is the most extraordinary invention ever.
Okay.
You know,
Good.
you can just go on there, and not only does it give you like a little video or a picture and a flavor, but it's very honest about what it is that you're going to be able to listen to.
Yeah.
And all of that from paying a license fee that's pennies.
Pennies. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I mean, how that, and then you can access it anywhere in the world, you know.
Yeah. That's
I was in South America last year, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder, you know, if, because I love listening to Radio 4 on a Saturday morning, and I
yeah.
just put it on, and sure enough, there it was, you know, Richard Cole and all the rest of them.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating how far technology has advanced.
But that way that technology has been an enabler, it makes you think about also how technology has been a disruptor.
Yeah.
And if you think about things like AI, and you think about things like the BlackBerry in the news a couple of weeks now,
Yeah.
has disappeared, being disrupted by the iPhone. And now that intuitive sense of having something in our hand that we can look at and play with at the same time, that is a generation that's going to naturally migrate into AI,
Yeah.
because those devices, that world is going to have a lot more AI in it, that's going to offer up to people much quicker what they're looking for, new things they might like to try. And I worry sometimes that those trends are going to make us less tactile in terms of wanting to have a
Yeah.
conversation like this. because you're just gonna
Yes, yeah.
you're just
And
gonna say, why can't I record it and send it to you? Well, why do you have to talk to me? Why can't I just send you a video, or a WhatsApp message or
yeah,
whatever?
being less social on social media.
Yeah. Or,
Yeah,
somebody I can think the other day, they're saying, what, you want us to come to the office and meet you? And we're
yeah,
saying, yeah, we want to meet you. We want to put up a presentation on our screen, and
yeah,
we want to talk to you all. Well, I'm not sure about that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it was like, what? And then eventually they when they came and they saw how we roll and where we operate from in the old Sinclair department store in the bottom of Royal Avenue, they loved it.
yeah, yeah,
And as a result, we got the job. But at the same time, they also got a flavor for how loyal and how
yeah.
good we could be going forward. So, it works.
Yeah, fantastic. And actually, that topic's just a nice way to merge into one of my last couple of questions here. Uh, Part of it is, what do you see the future looking like for Callow Events, and what do you see as the main challenges? And I guess what you've just been talking about there is very much what the future will look like.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that people are moving. They're not doing things around the corner anymore. They're throwing their interest, their net further afield, and we must be ready in Northern Ireland to capture those incomers who are coming to look at us and wonder, could they stage their big 2-day conference here? Could they deliver their big outing? What is wrong with somebody in London, instead of doing their Christmas party in expensive central London, putting everybody on the EasyJet flight to Belfast? And we do it here.
Yeah,
We do it here in central Belfast, and it's a place that they haven't discovered before. They're away. It's like, and it probably would be the same budget.
yeah,
So it's trying to reach that new audience of folks that are coming and taking an interest in Northern Ireland for the first time. And it's maybe also some of those people in the past that we've done work with outside of Northern Ireland, in the Republic and in the UK, encouraging them to come here, or encouraging them to get over the fact that we're in Belfast and it's okay. We can go to them. We don't have to be down the road in Nottingham or in Wexford. We can be in Belfast and it's fine.
yeah, yeah. Brilliant. So, look, really appreciate all your sharing so far. Lots of wisdom and nuggets there for our viewers and listeners to grasp hold of. What would you say to anyone in today's world if they're thinking about going into business?
Just go for it. You have to get up and you have to go for it, but it's not going to be handed to you and it's not going to be easy. And you do have to take a bit of risk and you do have to take a bit of a punt on things, but never give up. It's a bit like looking for your first job, where you've got a CV that's got 4 lines and 3 of those are O levels.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you say, well, I really want to work in your shop, Mr. Johnson. And by the time you've gone for the third time to ask him, is there any chance of a bit of Saturday work? Eventually he gives in and lets you. And that's where this concept of, it's not always about following the straight path. You have to sometimes weave your way around some of the obstacles and still be standing and get picked.
yeah,
It's a hard old business. The world of business is not something that's shaped like a government organization or a public sector body. It's shaped in a way that it's as much about what you make of it and what it makes of you. But
sure.
it's not gonna give you any Bibles. You have to be able to deliver the goods, or
Yeah,
you won't get asked twice.
yeah, yeah. Excellent share, Leo. Finally, what if we could have the magic on our fingertips of turning back the years, turning the clock back, and there's an 18-year-old Leo. What's the best advice that you would give to that 18-year-old?
To do a lot more listening and a lot less talking.
That's why we've got two of these and one of these.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, yeah. No, great advice, Leo. Look, uh, so many thanks, especially after coming in from a long haul, which I am very familiar with. For setting time aside to talk to us, to share part of your journey, and to give inspiration to our community. Really appreciate it. Huge thanks to you. Thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. No problem. Thanks, Rich.
Been great talking. All the best.
Cheers now. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.